right, thanks, Jess, and good afternoon, everybody. I'm Greg Fischer, the mayor of Louisville. Welcome here as we enter the Christmas and New Year's season. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's to everybody. So let's think about 2020. One of the lessons that came out of 2020 is that our city and our country has to do more to address both the legacy and daily reality of racism in the lives of too many of our residents. And there's plenty of data that illustrates that painful story. The median Black family in Louisville earns about 60% of what the median white family earns. That income disparity makes it vastly more difficult for many Black families to save up enough for down payment necessary to buy a home. And that's one reason the homeownership rate for Black Louisvillians is about half the rate of white Louisvillians, about 36 compared to 72%. To me, these disparities are unjust and they're unacceptable. And they are also the product of centuries of housing discrimination. And that's why my recent executive order declaring racism as a public health crisis in our city talked about the need to address the Black wealth gap in our city. Housing and neighborhood investment are seen as among the 7 key areas Metro government and our community partners must address. So what we're doing here is working to increase home ownership opportunities through programs like our Office of Housing's Down Payment Assistance Program. We've also invested $56 million in affordable housing over the last 5 years, starting the Affordable Housing Trust Fund with this administration. And then last week, my office, in partnership with the Metro Council, announced our legislative priorities for the next session of the General Assembly. We're pushing for a measure to expand cities' ability to address vacant and abandoned properties, and we'd like to see increased funding and policy solutions to meet the growing demands for affordable housing and to boost home ownership amongst historically disadvantaged communities. So I look forward to working with our representatives in Frankfort to address these priorities. In the meantime, we're acting now to address the need for more affordable housing in our community. So today, I'm happy to announce that we're taking a major step toward that by welcoming the first ever community land trust in Louisville. For background, a community land trust is basically a legal and financial mechanism to provide pathways to home ownership for people who might not otherwise be able to afford a home on the open real estate market. Following a request for proposals earlier this year, Louisville Metro has decided to enter into an agreement with the community development organization REBOUND. REBOUND will be working with other partners, Bates Community Development Corporation, River City Housing, and the Center for Neighborhoods. Most importantly, REBOUND will be working to establish a community-led organization that will manage a community land trust in the Russell and Smoketown neighborhoods. That's something that Metro government and partners like the Louisville Affordable Housing Trust Fund and the Metropolitan Housing Coalition have been advocating for years, and this was one of the numerous recommendations included in the 2019 Housing Needs Assessment. A community land trust can not only provide a pathway to home ownership in areas lacking affordable housing, but also serves as an effective anti-displacement tool in neighborhoods experiencing high levels of investment. And so that's why Russell and Smoketown will be the focus of this community land trust. With the increased investment happening in and around those 2 neighborhoods, we want to be sure that people who call these neighborhoods home can stay there without fear of displacement. Anti-displacement is the focus of the proposal that REBOUND and its partners submitted. What we're trying to demonstrate is that you can regenerate neighborhoods without displacing its residents. So we're happy to have REBOUND as a partner on this really historic initiative. And so now let's hear from REBOUND's Executive Director, Kevin Dunlap. Kevin, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, and thanks everyone for tuning in. This is a momentous day for REBOUND and for our community at large. For years, REBOUND has been advocating for the increase of homeownership and housing opportunities for African Americans across this city. And as the mayor said, it's not by coincidence that we are focusing our efforts on 2 historically African American neighborhoods in Louisville, the Smoketown neighborhood and the Russell neighborhood. both neighborhoods who have seen tremendous amount of investment over the last few years. And we're starting to see that property values are starting to increase in these neighborhoods. The need for a community land trust right now is monumental in these two particular neighborhoods. We anticipate that over time, probably within the next 3 to 5 years, that these areas may be unaffordable to the people that are currently living here. Thus, the need for the community land trust. So we thank Louisville Metro for its investment in these two neighborhoods. We thank Louisville Metro for entrusting Rebound and our partners to move this forward. And I can't say enough about our partners that we have been actually meeting and working together for over a year around this particular issue of creating a land trust for Louisville. The Base Community Development Corporation has been right there, front and center, helping to shape this for the Smoketown neighborhood, as well as working with us to try to shape this for the Russell neighborhood. And we also have to cannot leave out the Center for Neighborhoods. It's organizations like the Center for Neighborhoods that actually get on the ground, who already are in the ground in most of these neighborhoods, to have the ability to listen to the people, bring to the table exactly what the people want, and help us to move this forward. And our longtime partner, another Chodo in this work, is the River City Housing Corporation, who has the longest history of doing affordable housing all across Louisville, but specifically has done quite a bit within the Smoketown neighborhood. So I say to all of our partners, thank you for being on this journey with us. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Mayor.
Kevin, thank you. And thanks for recognizing the great team that's come together on this. And a major part of the work that Rebound and its partners will be doing centers around community engagement, as you just mentioned. And no one in Louisville does community engagement better than the Center for Neighborhoods. So I'm pleased that we're joined now by Melanie Long, Executive Director of the Center for Neighborhoods. Melanie, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Fischer. And thank you, Kevin, and all of our partners, Rebound, Bates, River City, and especially Metro, for funding this project. This is an exciting time to give the residents some control of the property and development in their neighborhoods. Our part in this project, as the mayor stated and as Kevin stated, is community outreach and engagement. Here at Center for Neighborhoods, we believe in the importance of resident-led neighborhood development. This community land trust process is an opportunity for the neighborhood to build on its assets and develop based on the vision of those living there now. So thank you once again for this opportunity, and we look forward to the work.
All right. Well, you guys have got a lot of work to do that's not going to be nearly as brief as your remarks right there. So the community engagement part of any of these processes is dynamic and always interesting to hear from people as to what they hope to see in their neighborhoods. So the work that y'all are going to be doing, Melanie, is really, really important, as you know, to put the foundation in place. So thank you, guys. Now, the Louisville Affordable Housing Trust Fund is no stranger to the work that we've been doing in providing housing for many, many years in our community. Next, I'd like to hear from their executive director of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, and that is none other than Christy Mcravey. Christy, thank you for being with us. Okay, come off mute, Christy. Let's see. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
Thank you, Mayor Fischer, and good afternoon, everyone. I am Christy Mcravey, Executive Director of the Louisville Affordable Housing Trust Fund. I am so excited to see our city embark upon this new tool that creates not only affordable housing, but provides wealth building opportunities for families. Studies have shown that community land trusts are a win for both homeowners and the communities around them. With a housing need of more than 30,000 units, I am happy that our leaders recognize that we need to use all of the tools that we are able to access to meet the needs of our community. By partnering with Rebound as the lead, we are assured that homeowners will have high-quality properties built that would be desirable to any person in our community, regardless of their income. Properties that anyone would want to live in. And that is the key of affordable housing. At the end of the day, that's what we all want. We want safe, decent, quality, affordable housing that is affordable to us. So thank you, Louisville Metro, for putting the call out to innovative developers to create a land trust. Thank you to Rebound and your partners, the Center for Neighborhoods, River City Housing, and Bates CDC for your willingness to be creative and answering that call. Louisville's housing need is great, so let's keep Louisville moving forward with funding and tools that continue to help all families in Louisville stabilize and thrive. Thank you. And again, good afternoon. And Mr. Mayor, I am throwing it back to you.
All right. Thanks, Christy. Appreciate all the work that you guys do. And then another champion for affordable housing in our city is Kathy Kuhn. She's the executive director of the Metropolitan Housing Coalition. Kathy, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kathy Kuhn, and I am the executive director of the Metropolitan Housing Coalition. We are a member organization that has been working in Louisville for over 30 years on behalf of fair, safe, and affordable housing for every member of our community. As was clearly shown in the housing needs assessment, Louisville is facing a severe lack of affordable housing, which is a problem that impacts not just those with the lowest incomes, but really has implications for all of our citizens. Affordable housing is a critical foundation to ensuring positive outcomes in a range of areas, including education, employment, physical health, mental health, among many, many others. And like nothing else before, the pandemic has shown us how critical safe and affordable housing is to the health and well-being of all of our citizens and all of our communities. The pandemic has also increased our understanding and our recognition and our acknowledgement of how Black and Brown Kentuckians continue to suffer from our long history of housing discrimination, as well as from the racism that remains embedded in many of our current policies and practices that lead to continued segregation and disinvestment and disparity. So while solving our affordable housing crisis, will require a range of interventions and significant investment from federal, state, and local sources, the establishment of this community land trust is really one very important step forward for Louisville in our work to ensure that every citizen has access to safe and stable housing. Community land trusts provide meaningful opportunities for low-income people to build equity through homeownership, while also allowing for community control and direct participation in decision-making. And the evidence of the positive outcomes that can be achieved from community land trusts is clear. Research shows, for example, that while only 47% of first-time homebuyers retain homeownership for more than 5 years in the open market, over 90% of community land trust homeowners are able to retain homeownership for over 5 years. And of course, we all know that the length of tenure in a home is the most critical factor in building wealth. And so while much more is needed to truly reform the housing landscape in Louisville, while also closing the racial wealth gap, including, among other things, changes to our zoning regulations, as well as to our lending practices, we sincerely congratulate the city and Rebound and these strong nonprofit partners for your leadership in pushing Louisville forward on a path towards greater housing justice. And I really want to thank you all for the opportunity to be a part of this important announcement today. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Kathy. And I'd like to thank a few other folks before we go to the questions. I'd like to thank the work of Louisville Forward that's helped pull all this together. Mary Ellen Wiederwall is the chief of Louisville Forward. So Chief Wiederwall, thank you for your leadership with this, along with Jeff O'Brien, who is the director of Develop Louisville. Thank you, Jeff. And then, of course, Laura Grabowski, our director of the Office of Community Development, who's worked so hard on so many of these initiatives as well to bring all this together. So that's the team behind this, and this is really an exciting day. And I'm looking forward to the great work that Kevin and his team at Rebound will do, Melanie and her team at the Center for Neighborhoods, and the teams at Bates CDC and River City Housing will all do this to help us address the affordable needs, housing needs here in our city. So I want to thank everybody for joining us. Christy, thank you as well for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And with that, we will go to the media questions.
Thank you, Mayor. If you all have any questions, please place them in the chat to everybody. Our first question is, what are the specifics of the Community Land Trust in terms of location, size, number and types of homes, cost to own, operate, and cost to rent a home there? And what's the timeline for establishing the Community Land Trust, as well as for first families to move in? So a few questions there. Kevin, I don't know if you want to handle that.
Yes, it's quite a bit packed into that one question, but let me start out by saying that in terms of specifics as to around housing type, housing size, and all of that, this truly needs to be a community land trust. This needs to be led by the people. So it's not for Rebound right now to ascertain what that's going to be. We truly have to hear from the people. So this is a process of creating the community land trust, moving it forward, and building actually the first home. So initially, we're looking at over a 3 to 5 year period of actually creating from start to finish the land trust and actually seeing units actually built and people moving into them. And I think I may have covered part of the question, but if you can give me the other parts, I'll try to address that as well.
Are there any specifics, she asked, on terms of location there, and then, just when you all expect the first families to maybe move in?
So we were very specific about these particular locations, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see the amount of investment that has already taken place in these particular neighborhoods. And as we begin to look at the data in these neighborhoods and see that property values are beginning to rise, these are areas that are going to be hit immediately and impacted by the rise in housing costs and housing values, and thus leaving those who are not currently homeowners totally out of the picture. So right now, it has been incumbent upon both Base and Rebound to look at these two specific organizations, because we see those neighborhoods possibly being gentrified more quickly than any of the other neighborhoods within the city.
All right, our next question is, how many citizens in both neighborhoods will be impacted? Kevin, do you want to take a first crack at that?
Well, the hope is to engage the entire neighborhoods, both neighborhoods. So, there is no numbers. So I think right now there's approximately 9,000 households here in the Russell neighborhood. I think the goal is to engage as many of those households as possible into this process. And I think the same thing holds true for the Smoketown neighborhood as well.
All right, another question from Amina Elahi with WFPL. Will the homes be newly built?
So the beauty of a land trust is that, yes, the majority of the houses will be new construction, but they don't all have to be new construction. They could be rehabbed homes. They could be houses that have been donated to the community land trust and then thus rehabbed and made available for home ownership. So there is no limitation that the houses have to be new construction. They could actually be renovated homes as well, or adaptive reuse of houses as well.
Thank you, Kevin. Mayor, this one's a little bit different from Amina. Mayor, what are your thoughts on the stimulus package agreed to by Congress that does not include relief for state and local governments?
Well, concerned and disappointed that funds are not flowing to local and state governments here to deal with the impact of the pandemic. Obviously, tax receipts are down very significantly because of the economic consequences of the this recession that we're in right now, which impacts services that local governments and state governments can deliver. So right when we're at the point of the vaccine arriving here and we can see an end in sight and multiple months out now is when we need to make sure that state and local governments have the resources to deliver on that. Some of that is in the other part of the package, so we'll be evaluating that soon. What we don't want to see is revenue shortfalls that lead to the inability for us to keep all of our employees and the services that they're delivering right now. Metro government is down about 500 people over the last couple of years or so. And so we just keep getting pushed to the breaking point on the type of services that people rely on, whether it be emergency medical services, firefighting, police services, garbage pickup, et cetera. So when the Biden and Harris administration come into office, they have referred to this passage of the bill that hopefully will happen today as a down payment on what's going to take place. So we look forward to that, including the extension of the eviction moratorium that was moved out 1 month to January 31st. President-elect Biden will be able to take executive action to move that out because we're very concerned when people are evicted anytime. But there's a whole bunch of people that are in the pipeline right now because of the pandemic. And the last thing we need to do is have them homeless here. So there's more work that needs to be done on the stimulus and relief packages from DC.
All right, and if you all have additional questions, please place those in the chat. I do see one additional question, though I think we've already addressed this. When do you expect first occupants of the land trust to move in? Kevin, I don't know if you have any more you want to say on that?
Well, we anticipate that the construction of the first new construction under this is not going to take place at least until the second year of this entire proposal. So we're going to be spending the first year on really ramping up and getting the families involved in this process of creating that. And I can't say that enough, that this has to be led by the people that actually live and reside in these communities to help shape this. And it's going to be up to them as to what they want to see in terms of the housing. So the housing actually comes a little bit later after the people have gotten together to decide exactly how they want the community land trust to look within their particular neighborhoods.
And Kevin, do you want to talk about when property acquisition will start? Where does that fit in this timeline?
So again, Mary, that does fit in around the second and third year of this process. We don't really anticipate seeing a full out, real big construction of major construction happening, probably not until the end of the third year of this process, going into the third and the fourth year of this process, where we actually see a numerous amount of properties coming out of the ground. However, leading up to that time, there will be an assembly of land in anticipation that this is going to have to happen. And this is where the residents, their voices really come in as to what actually they want to see on this particular land.
Thank you. All right, folks.
Well, sorry, Mayor, one more question. We just came in. How exactly will the land trust be funded? Laura Grabowski is on with our Office of Community Development. I'm not sure if she wants to handle that, or Jeff O'Brien, our Director of Development.
I'm happy to. This is Laura Grabowski. So these funds actually came from the Federal CARES Act, their Community Development Block Grant dollars the city received. And this will be funded with 2.1 million of those funds that will fund everything that we've talked about, from the housing development to the community engagement portion.
Yeah. So a great use of CARES money to help us address an issue that we've been wanting to get into for a long time and have been budget constrained. So thankful for that.
All right, and just one more question. They want to clarify, Kevin, the first year of the process will begin in 2021, correct?
That is correct. I believe that the Center for Neighborhoods is ready to get started on this. I think some of our first meetings are actually even scheduled for January. So we're looking at a month from now to begin some of this engagement with the residents on the ground. Even if we have to do it virtually, it will be starting. So yes, the first year starting a month from now, we'll be getting started on this work.
All right, thank you guys. I don't see any more questions, Mayor, so I'll throw it back to you.
All right. Well, this is the Community Land Trust. Is something we've been talking about for several years here. We've been trying to find the money to do it. So we're thankful for our CDBG funds, Community Development Block Grant funds becoming available for this, and then having the partners in the community to pull this together. So this is another advancement in equity, racial equity in our city that we intend to keep doing in many different ways as we've been announcing over the course of this year. So the goal is to create more opportunities for wealth development for more folks in our community, especially in our Black and Brown communities. And today's announcement is another good step forward in that. So thanks everybody for joining us today, to our team for putting this together, both in Metro and our external partners as well. Look forward to seeing everybody at the first groundbreaking. Thank you.